Talking about the retina, there's the pigmented layer and then there's the neural retina. So there are two distinct things, and we're going from outside to inside again. So we start with retinal pigment, starting with the retinal pigment epithelium, and they're just columnar cells, right, with these surface projections. So they're low columnar cells, so you can kind of draw it like these. They have basal nuclei. On this end there is the brusques. I probably got the spellings wrong, the brusque membrane, and they're kind of adherent to it. And then they have these cylindrical projections, right? And they also have these zonula occludentes tight junctions on the apical side. And these zonula occludentes, they contribute to the, what do they contribute? They contribute to the blood retina barrier. Because of the zonal occludents, and because the choriocapillaries in the choroid are responsible for the blood supply of the outer 1/3 of the retina, which includes the retinal pigment epithelium, includes a layer of rod and cone, the outer nuclear, and the outer plexiform layer, right? And so the thing is that anything that needs to get from there to here needs to cross through the retinal pigment epithelium because the intercellular spaces have been closed off. So none of the toxic substance is allowed to get into the retinal portion. Also, these cylindrical projections, what they do is that they interdigitate with the tip of the outer segment of the rods and the cones. I'll explain this to you in detail. So a rod and a cone. The retina has this layer which is the outermost. Then the layer is the layer of rods and cones. The photoreceptors, or the receptors in the case of the retina, are the rods and the cones, right? And they have various parts to them. In the layer of rods and cones, actually the photosensitive part is located. And which part is that? For example, let me start with the cone. This is the photosensitive part of it, which is considered the outer segment. In the case of the rod, this is the outer segment. So this is the part that is actually found in the layer of rods and cones. And this tip actually interdigitates with the cylindrical projections of the retinal pigment cells. And because this part is actually known as the outer segment, and it is in the membrane of the outer segment, especially in these transverse striations known as the membranous discs, are embedded a globular protein, which is a modified globular protein, which is also the photosensitive pigment. For example, let me draw it like this. And in the case of the rods, it is known as rhodopsin. My apologies. In the case of the cones, it is known as iodopsin. In the case of the rods, it is known as rhodopsin. Right. So then we have this portion known as the connecting stalk in both cases. And then we have the inner segment. The inner segment is the metabolically active part. Right, this is the metabolically active part, which will have the RER, and this will have the RER, and it will have the SCR, will have the ribosomes, it will also have the Golgi.